Progressives, this is your trigger warning. Welcome back. Sorry I took a couple of days off. I was feeling a little under the weather. Got a lot going on. This is a series of clips from the investigation concerning classified documents with President Biden at the time, Citizen Biden, Vice President Biden. And it's from Mr. Hur. He was the head of the investigation. And let's look at a couple of clips here. Before we get started, I want everybody to check their notifications. This website is really pushing me down. I've got over 7,000 subscribers. And about 12-15% have the all bell. I should be getting 500-600 views per video. And I'm getting less than 100 because of what's going on with this website. If you guys that push the all bell, please check out my videos. Bring up that watch time because they're really killing me. And if those of you that want to watch it as well, and share it. Share the link to this video on your social media. Now let's check out Biden's response to the press, whether he shared classified information with his ghostwriter.
Thank you, everyone. I did not share classified information. I did not share it. With your ghostwriter? With my ghostwriter, I did not. Guarantee you did not.
We also identified other recorded conversations during which Mr. Biden read classified information aloud to his ghostwriter.
Now, before we begin, I want to make one point. What they didn't bring up, and I'm surprised that the Republicans didn't, is the fact as Vice President of the United States, Biden, and then later private citizen for 4 years, during that whole 12-year period, he was vice president, and during Trump's term, he had zero authority to store any classified documents. Take them out of the skiff, as they call it here in Washington. Where did he get the copies from? He must have snuck them out. He has no authority as vice president, period. That is a felony in itself. And that was 12 years ago. And probably longer because there were many there when he was senator. He was senator for 100 years. I exaggerate, but he was there for a long, long time. Those are all felonies. All of them. Just want to make that clear. This is not the same as Trump, where there's a legal battle going on whether the president, as president, can take classified documents, declassify them. Let's listen on.
February 8th, the White House question, Mr. President, why did you share classified information with your ghostwriter? The President, I did not share classified information. I did not share it. I guarantee I did not. That's not true, is it, Mr. Hur?
That is inconsistent with the findings based on the evidence in my report.
Yes, it's a lie. It's just what regular people would say, right? Yeah, all right. So the next one. And all the stuff that was in my home was in filing cabinets that were either locked or able to be locked. That wasn't true either, was it?
That was inconsistent with the findings of our investigation.
Another lie, people might say, right? Because what you put in your report was among the places Mr. Biden's lawyers found classified documents in the garage was a damaged open box. So here's what I'm understanding, right?
Well, let's make this clear for a minute before we go on. President Trump had documents at Mar-a-Lago. We can go back and forth whether he had that right or not. There's a legal gray area. But they're under lock and key, very safe. And if you remember, being a former president, his residence is surrounded by Secret Service. That's some serious security. What was Biden's security? Open boxes. You've seen the pictures. And you're going to see there were multiple locations that were unguarded.
As Mr. Armstrong laid out, you find in your report that the elements of a federal criminal violation are met. But then you apply this senile cooperator theory, that because Joe Biden cooperated and the elevator doesn't go to the top floor, you don't think you get a conviction. And I actually think you get to the right answer in that. I don't think Biden should have been charged. Don't think Trump should have been charged. But under the senile cooperator theory, isn't it frustrating that Biden continues to go out and lie about the basic facts of the report that lay out a federal criminal violation?
Congressman, I need to disagree with at least one thing that you said, which is that I found that all of the elements were met. One of the elements of the relevant mishandling statute is the intent element, and what my report reflects is my judgment that based on the evidence, I would not be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury that that intent element had been
Right,
met.
but the reason...
And that goes for the same for President Trump, intent. He was told by lawyers, smart ones, in the DOJ and the White House lawyers, that he could keep those classified documents as president because he can declassify them at will as president. Up to the moment that Joe Biden was sworn in as president, Donald Trump had the authority to declassify anything he wanted to for any reason at any time. That's a fact.
You have that doubt is the senile cooperator theory, the fact that Joe Biden is so inept in responding that you can't prove the intent, which again, I don't quibble with that conclusion, but it's frustrating to be like, oh, well, this guy's not getting treated the same way as Trump because the elevator's not going to the top floor, so we can't prove intent, while at the same time Biden goes out there at the White House and says, well, you know, he just blatantly lies. And what I'm trying to figure out is whether or not Biden's lying because he's still so senile, he hasn't read your report, or whether it's a little craftier and a little more devious and perhaps a little more intentional than we might otherwise think. So
now, remember, I forget the mafia chief in New York that was under indictment and going to trial that pretended he was crazy, that walked around in his bathrobe. Remember that guy? And at the very end, he slipped up. It was all fake. Of course, he acted crazy, so they wouldn't put him on trial. I mean, he's not stupid. He's a sharp guy. And is Biden, or is he pretending to be senile when he was being interviewed by her? Or was he really senile? It's really hard to tell. It's so amazing to me. It truly is.
I also want to go to this Biden Penn Center. Like, did it give concern to you that the Biden Penn Center, where all this classified stuff was being mishandled, was being floated by foreign governments?
Congressman, we were concerned with getting to the bottom of all of the classified documents that were recovered during the course of our...
Yeah, but what bothers me is that the money that was paying for the place where the documents were being inappropriately held, it was the Chinese and it was other foreign countries. Did that play into your analysis? Did you look into the $1 billion in foreign funding sources at the Biden Center at UPenn, for example?
Congressman, we conducted a thorough, impartial, and fair investigation, and we were very, very concerned with getting to the bottom of all the relevant questions relating to the recovered documents.
Did you look into the fact that the Chinese were floating the place where this guy was keeping the documents unsecure? Yes or no?
Congressman, to the extent that we identified evidence that was relevant and significant to our investigation, we put it in our report.
Okay, well,
You know, I'll give him that. I'll give Robert Hur, the special counsel, that. It wasn't in the scope of their investigation. Should have been done? Yeah, probably should have been done by Congress. But he was about the classified documents, not the peripheral stuff. It would have been nice if he did, but that's going off on a tangent. How many tangents can he go off on? It's a 435-page report. And that was not his mantra, so to speak. He was given a specific scope. And that was, when did he get classified documents, where they were stored unlawfully, and how badly they were stored. That's pretty much it. And interview President Biden as well as his ghostwriter and many others.
Seemed relevant to me, maybe not to you. Another thing that seemed relevant to me is this ghostwriter, right? So the ghostwriter purposefully deletes this evidence that seems to be like show culpability of Biden's crimes, and you don't charge him. Why did you not charge the ghostwriter with obstructing justice and deleting evidence?
Well, for a number of reasons that are laid out in the report. But in brief, Congressman, yes, when we interviewed the ghostwriter, he did tell us, and I'm trying to get the exact language, that one of the things on his mind, one of the things he was aware of, was that I had been appointed special counsel and was conducting an investigation.
Right, so he didn't, just so everybody knows, the ghostwriter didn't delete the recordings just as a matter of happenstance. Ghostwriter has recordings of Biden making admissions of crimes. He then learns that you've been appointed. He then deletes the information that is the evidence, and you don't charge him.
That is reflected in the report, and one of the reasons...
Like, what does somebody have to do to get charged with obstruction of justice by you? If like...
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, he's saying later that they were transcripts of the audio tapes. Who knows how authentic they are, if they've been altered. But there's one thing, it's like a video or an audio. You can hear a person's tone. You can hear if they're confused. You can hear if they're having trouble, articulating something. In a transcript, you won't get that. It's like if you, any great orator, I'm even going to say Barack Obama is a great public speaker. If you put all of his speeches down just in transcripts, it loses a lot. It loses his oratory skills. Same with Biden. He could have been humming and hawing and I don't remember, and it could have been actually like a total goof, but it's not going to be in the transcript. Just what he said, not his mannerisms and his trouble remembering. Huge difference. In a video, of course, would have been even better.
Deleting the evidence of crimes doesn't count. What would meet the standard?
So, Congressman, as we state in the relevant chapter of the report, one of the things that Mr. Zwanitzer did not delete was transcripts of the recordings that he had created that included inculpatory evidence relating to Mr. Biden.
Oh, so if you destroy some evidence but not other evidence, that somehow absolves you of the evidence you destroy? Here's what I see. Zwanniger should have been charged, wasn't. Biden and Trump should have been treated equally. They weren't. And that is the double standard that I think a lot of Americans are concerned about.
Yeah, at least the ghostwriter should have been charged. I mean, let's just tell the truth here. And look at all of the information on cell phones from the Secret Service on January 6th that a lot of their texts just simply disappeared because they said they transferred to another cell carrier and they were lost. Look at the terabyte and a half of information the fake January 6th committee had. A terabyte and a half of information is a crap ton of information. Just disappeared. And nobody was charged with obstruction. No one. Give you an idea, I mean, there were tens of thousands of documents, hundreds and hundreds of hours of interview from the January 6th committee, thousands of texts, all just completely disappeared. Just like all the Blackberries for Hillary Clinton's people just disappeared and got smashed. But nobody goes to jail, or at least gets charged and go to trial. No one. So you see a pattern of this over years and years. That means you can do anything you want to and nothing will happen. Meanwhile, everyday people and supporters of President Trump are going to jail. Pierre Navarro is going to spend 4 months in federal prison, and he appealed to say, I'm going to appeal the conviction. Well, the judge says, too bad, go to jail anyway during your appeal. But believe me, if that was an illegal migrant or minority person, they would be cut loose with no bail pending trial, if at all. It's a two-tier justice system, and it's wrong.
My time's expired. I yield back.
My team and I conducted a thorough, independent investigation. We identified evidence that the president willfully retained classified materials after the end of his vice presidency when he was a private citizen.
Again, I'm going to emphasize, sorry to keep interrupting the video, but this point has to be made. During the 8 years he was vice president, and well over 30 years as senator, that's 50 years, and 4 years as a private citizen when Trump was president, that's a crap load of time. During none of that 30, 40, 50 years of being a senator, vice president, did he have the authorization to move out of the SCIF, they say in the Senate, classified documents? He had zero authority, not even a stretching of the truth of the federal ordinances concerning classified documents could even be made. Why wasn't he charged with removing them? He wasn't senile, even though he's dumber than a bag of rocks, but he wasn't senile 12 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago when he did all this stuff over time. Why wasn't he charged for that? Statute of limitations? Well, they don't seem to count anymore because his so-called assault with President Trump on Jean Carroll was over 20 years ago, supposedly. They extended the statute of limitations. So I guess it depends who you are.
This evidence included an audio-recorded conversation during which Mr. Biden told his ghostwriter that he had, quote, just found all the classified stuff downstairs, end quote. When Mr. Biden said this, he was a private citizen speaking to his ghostwriter in his private rental home in Virginia. We also identified other recorded conversations during which Mr. Biden read classified information aloud to his ghostwriter.
I appreciate the gentleman yielding. Mr. Hur, why did the White House lawyers go look in the first place? My understanding is they went to the Penn Biden Center. Why did they go look in the first place? Look for classified, mishandling of classified, look for classified documents. Why did they do it?
What we identified through our investigation was that at a certain date, members of the president's staff went to the Penn Biden Center in order to get a better handle on what the information, what kinds of evidence and what kinds of materials were at the Penn Biden Center.
Were they specifically looking for potential documents that were classified, or was it a broader initial look?
My understanding is that it was a broader initial look, and I'm looking at Chapter 14, page 257 of my report about a visit in March 2021 to the Penn Biden Center.
Now, here's the thing. Here's what probably happened. They're trying to charge Trump with a documents thing when they raided Mar-a-Lago, and they raided the place when he wasn't there, so they wouldn't have to contend with Secret Service issues guarding Trump. And they did it 61 days out from an election when their policy is 60, but that's just a coincidence. But I digress. What probably happened is the White House counsel, meaning the White House under President Biden, and some other big shot lawyers in the DNC, the Democrats, said, holy crap, does Joe Biden have any classified stuff that's not secure? We're not going to worry about the fact that he took them when he didn't have the authority to do so. Let's just worry about the damn things are secure. Well, you better go find out right now, because that's going to be really embarrassing if this gets out. And that's exactly what happened.
Okay. In March.
In March of 2021.
And was this after the Justice Department began their investigation into President Trump?
I confess I don't have the date of the beginning of the investigation into President Trump at hand, Chairman.
I believe it was the same month. I believe it was after. So I was just curious of that. Now, one other thing I think is important for folks to understand is President Biden had this information everywhere. I mean, you said they initially went to the Penn Biden Center. Which location was it at? Do you remember when they initially did their look? Was it at the transition office? Was it at the temporary Penn Biden Center in Chinatown? Or was that at its current location where the Penn Biden Center currently sits here in, final location, I guess, in D.C.? Do you remember?
I believe the visit that I referenced in March 2021 that's described on page 257 was to the Penn Biden Center's permanent and current location.
Permanent and current. So there were three places, those three places classified information was at. Is that?
No, think about that. That's three so far. That aren't as secured as who knows who's at the Penn Biden Center, the nonprofit that's set up for Joe Biden. Who has access to that stuff? And even more importantly, who has access to it that can let other people have access to it? Unlike Mar-a-Lago, that was under lock and key. And even another point I want to make is President Trump had the DOJ, the FBI come in and search through all the papers that he had in Mar-a-Lago. And they suggested another lock in a door, and he abided by their request. They knew exactly what he had. Did the DOJ and the FBI know what Biden had unlawfully at the Penn Center and many other locations? The answer is no. They were never allowed to go through them. So these two things aren't the same.
Fair to say?
That's correct. The initial transition office immediately after the end of the vice presidency, the Penn Biden Center's temporary office, and then the Penn Biden Center's permanent office.
Okay. So those, and then you had the University of Delaware Library, the University of Delaware Biden Center, right? So that's 5 total. And then you had multiple places in his home.
Correct.
The garage, the den, the office upstairs, and the office downstairs.
Correct.
So what is that? That's like 9 different places.
I've lost count, sir, but
Yeah,
that sounds...
I've lost count, sir. Think about that for a moment. There were no classified documents anywhere else but Mar-a-Lago under lock and key. He lost count of all the different places, classified documents that Biden took unlawfully when he was not president. How they spin this is it's the same. In fact, Trump is worse because they asked for him back Well, the only difference was they probably knew Biden had classified documents, but kept it to themselves, so they didn't ask for them back. And here's the other question. All these documents that turned up all over the place, more places this guy can remember where they were they all returned? Were they all requested by the agency that takes care of documents in the archives? The answer is no. So Trump was treated differently. It's not the same. It's oranges and apples.
It's everywhere. And it was documents over a 50-year time frame. And then by comparison, because the Democrats want to keep comparing to President Trump's classified document right at his home with Secret Service protection. I don't know that they're anywhere else, were they?
I'm not aware of other locations, President.
Yeah. I think that's an important distinction. I would yield back.
So think about this for a minute. He wasn't charged because because he's a good meaning dope, and he really didn't know that he wasn't supposed to take him all those years as a senator before he was senile. And as vice president, yeah, he was losing a little bit as vice president, but not for most of it. He was the same old Dumbo Joe. And then 4 years as Trump, and all of a sudden now they can't charge him because his mind isn't there, but he's a well-meaning doofus. Meanwhile, Trump is an a-hole, and we don't like him, so we're going to charge him. And on top of that, he's going to be our top political rival, soon to get the Republican nomination. Think about that for a minute. And those people that hate Trump, they say, well, I don't care. As long as they get Trump, do what they got to do. Oh, really? Due process, folks, and fairness. Equal application of the law. It's not even close. And don't think for a minute that they go after President Trump, that other people that you might like or support are next. That's the point of this whole thing. We'll say that President Trump is the worst human being that ever lived that was president of the United States. If the laws and the Constitution and fairness by the DOJ don't apply equally, then they apply equally to no one. And it always will come back to bite you in the ass. This thing makes Watergate look like a joke. I'm old enough to remember Watergate. I'm 67. I remember all of that. And if this had been done back then, Biden would have resigned. But times change. Republicans had control of much of the CIA and the DOJ back in the Watergate days, but it couldn't protect Nixon. Now they've learned their lesson. They just get rid of evidence. They delete it, have other people delete it, and nobody's ever charged. Nobody's ever charged with obstruction, except for Trump and his people, of course. I know there's some Democrat voters out there that I'll never be able to get through. It's like trying to teach a golden retriever how to play chess. I get that. But there's got to be a good 10, 15% of Democrats that go, you know what? This is total bullshit. I can't stand Trump, but what they're doing is wrong. Now, they might not vote for Trump in the general election, but they can't bring themselves to vote for Biden, so they'll vote down ballot and skip the presidency, period. I can live with that. That's fair. That's probably the best you're going to get, because the cult members will never, ever. What's the meme I saw the other day? Is trying to convince somebody that you grab them to pull them out of the house is on fire, and they punch you in the face. And you go, listen, the house is on fire. No, it's not. No, it's not. While they're looking around, the flames are surrounding them, and you're trying to save them, and they're saying, the house isn't on fire, prove it. Meanwhile, they're looking at the flames. That's how bad they are. You're never going to get through to those people. I don't know how this is going to come out. I really don't. And all the legal stuff on Trump we're going to have to see. We live in interesting times, to be sure. What's your thoughts? And until next time, God bless, goodbye, and good luck.